Have you ever felt like your days control you instead of the other way around? You wake up, you rush, you react to messages, to news, to other people's moods. By the time night comes, you wonder where the day went. Today, that changes. This is also a good way to practice listening if English is your second language. But really, this video is about something much bigger than words. By the end of this video, you will know 4 old ideas that can hold your life steady, no matter what happens around you. Most people spend years searching for steadiness in the wrong places. A new job, a new relationship, a new place to live. Sometimes those things help for a while, but the feeling rarely lasts because the real problem was never the outside world. It was the absence of a few simple internal habits that ancient thinkers spent their whole lives studying. These ideas are not new. They are over 2,000 years old. A group of thinkers in ancient Greece and Rome called them virtues. Not rules, not commandments. Just 4 simple ways to live that worked then and still work now. Wisdom, courage, justice, temperance, 4 virtues, 1 steady life. You do not need to be rich to use them. Fame is not required either, and neither is youth or a perfect track record. What you need is much simpler, a willingness to try 1 choice at a time starting today. Think about the last time something went wrong. Maybe a plan fell apart. Maybe someone treated you unfairly. Maybe you felt afraid to speak up or tempted to do something you knew was not good for you. In that moment, you were facing one of these 4 virtues, whether you knew it or not. Most people go through life without ever naming these forces. They feel the pressure, the fear, the temptation, but they never learn the simple ideas that could guide them through it. That stops today. Here is what you will learn. First, wisdom and how to stop fighting things you cannot control. Second, courage and how to act even when fear is loud. Third, justice and how to treat people right even when no one is watching. Fourth, temperance and how to want less so you can live more. Each of these 4 ideas sounds simple on the surface, almost too simple. But the people who actually practice them day after day build a kind of inner strength that very few people ever reach. Not because they are special, because they keep choosing over and over when it would be easier to stop. If you're serious about finding that steadiness, the kind that doesn't depend on luck or other people, stay with this video and subscribe. So, more ideas like this. Find you. Let's begin with the first virtue, the one that changes how you see everything else. Lesson 1. Wisdom. Here's the truth. Most of our stress does not come from what actually happens to us. It comes from fighting things we cannot change. A young nurse worked 12-hour shifts in a busy hospital. She cared deeply about her patients. She wanted every outcome to be good. But some patients got worse no matter what she did. Some families were angry even when she had done everything right. Some nights she went home and cried in her car before she could even drive away. She started to burn out, not because the work was too hard, but because she was carrying things that were never hers to carry. Other people's choices, other people's anger. The final outcome of an illness she did not cause and could not cure. One evening, an older doctor sat with her after a hard shift. He told her something simple. He said, "You did your job well. The rest was never yours to hold. That night changed how she worked. She still cared just as much as before, but she stopped trying to control what was outside her hands. She focused only on what she could actually do, her skill, her attention, her kindness in the room. The rest she let go. This is wisdom, not knowing everything. Just knowing what is actually yours to control. A man who lived almost 2,000 years ago understood this better than almost anyone. His name was Epictetus. He had been born into slavery, and for years his body was not his own. People could control where he went, what he ate, even whether he lived or died. And yet he taught that no one could ever control his mind, his judgments, his choices about how to respond. It would have been reasonable for a man in his position to feel that nothing in his life was his own. Instead, he spent his teaching life pointing students back to the one territory that always remained theirs, no matter what happened around them. Even prisoners, he argued, even the powerless, even people facing the worst circumstances imaginable, still own their own judgments about those circumstances. That ownership, small as it sounds, turned out to be enough to build an entire philosophy on. He drew a simple line. On one side, things you control, your thoughts, your effort, your reactions. On the other side, things outside your control, other people, the weather, the past, most outcomes. A weak mindset reacts to everything. The traffic, the comment online, the friend who did not text back. A strong mindset responds only to what actually matters and lets the rest pass like weather. Think about your own week. How much of your stress came from things truly in your hands? And how much came from things you were never able to control in the first place? This sounds easy to understand and hard to actually practice. And that is true. The mind does not naturally sort things this way. It grabs everything, the big and the small, the controllable and the impossible, and treats it all as equally urgent. Learning wisdom means slowing down long enough to ask one question before reacting. Is this actually mine to handle, or am I just absorbing someone else's storm? Wisdom is not knowing everything. It is knowing what is actually yours to control. When you learn this one skill, something shifts. Energy that used to go toward outcomes you could never change starts going somewhere useful instead. Weight that was never yours stops sitting on your shoulders. And slowly, your mind gets quiet enough to hear the next virtue calling. Because once you know what is yours, you still have to find the courage to act on it. Lesson 2. Courage. A man lost his job after 15 years at the same company. No warning, just a short meeting, and then his desk was empty. He sat in his car in the parking lot for almost an hour, not able to drive, not able to think. For weeks he avoided people. He avoided phone calls. He avoided telling his family the full truth because saying it out loud felt too heavy. Fear had taken over. Fear of starting again. Fear of being judged. Fear that he was simply too old, too tired, too far behind to begin a new path. Then one night, he remembered something his father once told him long before he passed away. His father had said you do not have to feel brave to act brave. You just have to act. So the next morning, shaking, he sent out his first job application in 15 years, then another. Then he asked an old colleague for advice, even though it embarrassed him to ask. Step by step, he kept moving, even though the fear never fully left. This is courage, not the absence of fear. It is acting well in spite of it. A man named Viktor Frankl understood this in the darkest place imaginable. During the Second World War, he was held in concentration camps, where he lost almost everything: his freedom, his family, his future as he had once imagined it. Guards controlled his body completely. But Frankl noticed something. Even there, some prisoners kept their dignity. They chose how to respond even when every outward choice had been stripped away. He later wrote that the last human freedom is the ability to choose your attitude in any situation, no matter how hard. Not freedom from pain. Freedom within it. People who avoid fear spend their whole lives shrinking, taking the smaller job, the smaller risk, the smaller life just to feel safe. People who act through fear build something real. Not because they feel powerful. They rarely do. They build it because they choose to move while their hands are still shaking. Now think about this. What is the one thing you have been avoiding simply because it feels uncomfortable or uncertain or risky? A conversation, a decision, a new beginning. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting well in spite of it. Fear doesn't disappear once you decide to be brave. It usually stays right there, sitting in your chest the whole time you're doing the hard thing anyway. That is exactly what makes it courage instead of comfort. If the fear were gone, it would not take much strength to act. The strength comes from moving while the fear is still loud. The next honest step is rarely large. It looks like sending one application, having one conversation, making one phone call you have been avoiding for weeks. Small, repeated, and uncomfortable every single time. That is the real shape of courage, far more often than any dramatic movie-style moment. Lesson 3. Justice. A small business owner spent years building a shop that people in her town trusted. Good prices, honest work. She treated every customer the same, whether they spent $10 or $1,000. Then a competitor moved in nearby and started spreading false rumors about her just to take her customers. It would have been easy to fight back the same way, to lie about them in return, to cut corners just this once to save money. To treat her own staff a little worse during the hard months to protect her profit. She did none of that. She kept paying her workers fairly even when money was tight. She kept telling customers the full truth about a product, even when a smaller lie would have meant a bigger sale. She did not attack her competitor in public, even when she had every reason to. It cost her in the short term. But over time, people noticed. Not because she announced it, but because steady, fair treatment is rare enough that people remember it. Her shop survived. The competitors did not. This is justice. How you treat people when nobody is keeping score. A man named Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison for standing against an unjust system. When he finally walked out, the world expected anger. Many would have understood it. Instead, he chose something far harder. He worked to build a fairer country with the very people who had once imprisoned him, rather than seeking revenge. He once said that resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. He chose a different path, not because the people who hurt him deserved kindness. He chose it because he understood that justice is not about settling scores. It is about building something better than what hurt you. This didn't mean he forgot what happened to him or pretended it did not matter. He carried the weight of those years for the rest of his life, but he refused to let that weight decide how he treated the people in front of him, including the ones who had once been his jailers. That refusal, repeated daily for the rest of his life, is what justice actually looks like, once the easy excuse for revenge is sitting right there, fully justified, and still unused. Those who keep score spend their lives counting debts, who owes them, who wronged them, who deserves punishment. Those who simply do right build trust, build community, build a name that lasts longer than any single unfair moment. Here's what most people miss. Justice is not only for courtrooms and leaders. It shows up in small moments. How you speak about a co-worker who is not in the room. Whether you give credit you did not have to give. Whether you treat the waiter the same as you treat your boss. It is also one of the quietest virtues to fake. Anyone can look fair when people are watching and the stakes are low. The real test comes in private, in the small daily moments nobody will ever know about, when cutting a corner would be easy and no one would ever find out. Justice is how you treat people when nobody is keeping score. If this is hitting you, hit subscribe. There's more coming, including the virtue that quietly protects all the others. Lesson 4. Temperance. A woman built her whole identity around being busy. She checked her phone the moment she woke up. She said yes to every project, every favor, every late night, because saying no felt like falling behind. She told herself she could rest later, once she reached the next goal, then the next one after that. There was no next one that ever felt like enough. Her body broke down before her mind would admit anything was wrong. Constant headaches, sleepless nights, a kind of exhaustion that no amount of coffee could fix. A doctor finally told her plainly, "You are not tired because you're doing too little. You're tired because you never learned how to stop." She started small. She turned off notifications after 8 in the evening. She said no to one thing each week, just one, even when it felt uncomfortable. She stopped scrolling the moment she noticed she was doing it just to numb out, not because she actually wanted to. Slowly, something she had not felt in years came back. Quiet. Actual rest. A sense that her life was hers again, not something being pulled in 20 directions by everyone else's demands. This is temperance. The quiet power to want less and choose well. Pause for 1 second. Think about your own habits, your phone, your spending, your need to always be doing something. Temperance does not mean you cannot enjoy life. It means you choose what you want on purpose instead of being pulled by every craving the moment it shows up. Those who chase more are never satisfied. A bigger purchase, a louder achievement, one more notification. It all promises relief, and none of it delivers for long. Those who choose enough feel something different, steadier, lighter, less owned by their own desires. Temperance protects the other 3 virtues. Wisdom shows you what matters. Courage helps you act on it. Justice shapes how you treat others. But without temperance, you will chase distractions so constantly that you never slow down long enough to use any of it. It is easy to admire wisdom, courage, and justice from a distance the way you might admire a person in a story. Temperance is harder to admire because it shows up as restraint, as a choice nobody else can see you making. There is no audience for the moment you put the phone down, or the moment you choose not to buy something you do not need. That invisibility is exactly why so few people build this skill, and exactly why it matters so much when you do. The quiet power to want less and choose well is not weakness. It is one of the strongest things a person can build. And once all four virtues start working together, something interesting happens. Your life stops feeling like a series of separate battles and starts feeling like one steady path. One man tried to live by all four virtues at once, every single day, for almost 2 decades, while holding more power than nearly anyone alive at the time. His name was Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. He commanded armies. He ruled millions of people. He could have used that power for comfort, for revenge, for anything he wanted. Instead, each night, he wrote private notes to himself, not for anyone else to read, just to remind himself how to stay grounded. Those notes became a book we now call Meditations. In it, he reminded himself again and again to focus on what he could control, to act with courage, even under pressure to treat people fairly, even when he had no reason to fear them, and to want less than his position allowed him to take. He once wrote a simple idea that still holds up today. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He was not perfect. He faced wars, plagues, betrayal, and the death of several of his own children. He never claimed the four virtues made life painless. He claimed they made life livable, even steady, even when everything around him was not. There is an old idea connected to this kind of thinking, sometimes called loving your fate. It does not mean pretending hard things are good. It means accepting what has already happened fully, without wasting your energy fighting the past, so you have energy left to act wisely, courageously, fairly, and with self-control going forward. This is different from giving up. Giving up means deciding nothing matters anymore. Loving your fate means deciding that what already happened is fixed, finished, unchangeable. So your only real work is deciding what to do with what remains. Marcus Aurelius lost children, faced betrayal from people he trusted, and led his empire through a plague that killed millions. He never pretended any of that was easy. He simply refused to let it stop him from acting on the four virtues anyway. You wake up, you face something hard, you choose your response anyway. That is the whole practice repeated for a lifetime. 4 virtues. 1 steady life. Notice that none of these virtues work well alone. Wisdom without courage stays as an idea, never becoming action. Courage without justice can turn reckless or even cruel. Justice without temperance can become bitter, always counting what others owe. And temperance without the other 3 can become passive, simply avoiding life instead of living it well. Together, they hold each other steady the same way 4 legs hold up a table that would otherwise fall. Imagine the hardest day you can picture, not a small, bad day. The kind of day that tests everything you think you know about yourself. A diagnosis you did not expect. a relationship ending without warning, a failure so public that you cannot hide from it. In moments like this, all four virtues get tested at the exact same time, whether you are ready or not. Wisdom asks you a hard question first. What part of this can you actually still control? Not the diagnosis itself, not the other person's choice to leave, not the fact that people now know about your failure, but your next action, your next thought, your next breath that is still yours. Courage asks the next question. Will you face this directly, or will you spend your energy avoiding it? Avoiding does not make pain smaller. It only makes the same pain last longer, dragged out over more days than it ever needed to take. Justice asks something quieter. Even now, broken and afraid, will you still treat the people around you fairly? Will you still tell the truth instead of blaming someone who does not deserve it? Will you still show up decently for the people who depend on you? And Temperance asks the final question. Will you numb this pain with something that will cost you more later? Or will you sit with discomfort long enough to actually heal from it? There was once a man who faced all four of these tests in a single year. He lost his health, his income, and a relationship he thought would last forever. He told people later that he did not survive that year because he was strong in some special rare way. He survived because he kept doing one small right thing after another, even on the days when nothing in him wanted to. He did not control what happened to him. He never could have, but he controlled how he met it moment by moment, choice by choice. That is the part most people overlook when life gets hard. They wait to feel ready, calm, or strong enough before they act with any of these four virtues. But readiness rarely arrives on schedule. The choice has to come first often while you still feel completely unready. Four virtues. One steady life. This is not a theory for easy days. It was built 2,000 years ago specifically for days. Like this one, the days that test whether everything you have learned actually means anything when it counts. You don't need to be a philosopher. You just need to start today with whatever hard thing is in front of you right now. So here is everything in one place. Wisdom. Know what is actually yours to control and let the rest go. Courage. Act well even while fear is still loud. Justice. Treat people fairly even when nobody is keeping score. Temperance. Want less and choose well so your life stays yours. None of these require luck. None of them require a perfect past or a perfect set of circumstances. They only require a decision made again and again on ordinary days as much as hard ones. Some days you will practice all four well. Other days you will only manage one, and that is still progress worth keeping. Four virtues. One steady life. You don't need to be a philosopher. A small decision is enough to begin. Pick one virtue today, the one you need most right now, and practice it in one small moment before this day ends. If you want to improve your English while you keep growing in life, stick around for the next video. Which of the four virtues do you need most right now? Wisdom, courage, justice, or temperance? Tell me in the comments below. I read every one of them. If this video gave you something worth holding on to, subscribe so the next idea finds you when you need it. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, stay steady.